Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. Okay, it seems like it's good. Alrighty. Just got to update a few people. Alrighty. So, hello streamers. I'm just setting up a few more things before I end up doing what I do best, which is drawing a bunch of stupid things on my computer without really thinking about what I'm going to do 100% of the time. But this time there is a twist. So, stream is now up. So, this time around, I have decided to do an Ask Me Anything session. So, with that being said, I've actually created a thread of sorts. So, if anyone needs to like ask me anything, then by all means they can. And there were a few questions that actually came up in a Newgrounds thread that I posted in the supporters forum. So, yes, it is going to be one of those nights. So, I just got one more thing I would like to set up if I can, and this is going to be a rather quick thing where I just set up some chiptune music, because at the very least I kind of like what I did the last time where I just had music going on in the background. Going to here. Well, that's going to be a thing. Let's see what we got here. So, in any case, a lot of the questions are just going to be silly things or general things about what I do with my craft, so to say. If anything, I'm just going to be having a little bit of fun tonight. So on and so forth. Let's see, we'll play. If I just do it. And I'm kind of doing this off of YouTube right now. Alrighty, well, I don't know how that sounds. Alright. Just want to go into the properties real quick. Alrighty. Now it seems to be going rather well. Real quick, I just want to check if it's actually working here. Real quick. I just want to check if it's actually working here. Real quick. Alrighty, so I think we're all set to just essentially go with a flow right now. And what am I going to draw tonight? Well, I had a photo I took of a winter landscape not too long ago, so yes, I am going to do like a landscape of sorts. It's been something I've been wanting to do for some time now. All I have to do is just kind of figure out the dimensions here. Alright, so kind of start off with 1132 by 849. Here we go, and what I'm also going to do is adjust the canvas size and try to go down to a certain percentage, which I'm just going to do with the whole sprite resize. Let's make that 50%. I think that'll do. So we're working with a relatively small canvas. Alrighty. And alright, here we go. And alrighty. So now that things are being set into place, let's get rid of that title card, shall we? And boop. Alright. Sup, everyone. So we have a sprite loaded up, that's fine and dandy and all. But I want to change my palette. I did have like a preset one in place. That's odd. For some reason, the palette I had is not there. That's odd. Well, no matter. There are other ways we can load up a palette. Let's go with Winter Dawn here, which I actually made not too long ago, based on this whole photo, so let's just change the canvas a little bit. Alright, boom. So this is kind of gonna be like a weird way of me doing like pixel art, so to say, but in a way it will work. So in any case, I guess while I begin what I'm doing here, it may be very well time for me to take on some questions, yes? So just kind of looking in the supporter thread that I've made. The first question I got is from fellow Newgrounds user Animonator. So, Animonator asks, forgive me if I screw up a pronunciation of your username. He asked, how did I come up with my name? So, here's the thing with my username. Like, this ended up coming as a result of me messing around with a couple different usernames over the course of the past several years, so to say. So I'm going to give you all a brief history of how the username DioShiba came to be. So, to start off with, I think we need to rewind the clocks all the way back to, I'm gonna say roughly 2007, 2008-ish. So originally I actually went by Master of the Wii, and this was back when I was a very obnoxious kid, so to say, and that was back when a lesser known online community that used to be part of a Spriter's resource called Pixeltendo came into existence. So, after not getting along with several of the users there and getting banned, TSR the spreader's resource became independent. So essentially it had its own separate forms. I still wanted to be a part of a community, and Pixel Tendo was kind of dying. So essentially what happened at this point was that let's see. I essentially created a whole new username for myself. And the reason behind that decision is because I felt it was time for a new start. I just got tired of the reputation I had from Pixel Tendo. And for a while, no one really knew I was Master of a Wii except maybe a few people. But in the end, it honestly didn't matter because it wasn't until years and years later people knew that I was Master of a Wii. But I digress on that point. Because ultimately, the username I went with at the time was Diogalezu, which really was just a bunch of random letters I came up with for no reason whatsoever. There was really no logic behind that name. It just was. So, essentially, DioShiba became my main username at the time. And eventually I had several different other usernames because there was the ability to change usernames. A lot of them were kinda trollish in nature, and looking back on my teenage edgy days, they weren't always politically correct. Which kinda drew the ire of some users, but after a good long while, I just ended up sticking with DioShiba. And ever since, the name just kinda stuck. So essentially that's how DioShiba essentially came to be. Now, the thing is, like, far as all my other usernames go, like, the history with that is far too long to really go into full detail in each specific username because I had so many of them. That's really kind of a gist of how DioShiba came to be. That isn't to say that there were other accounts I've had in other places, like Mario Fan Games Galaxy. That was actually before Pixel Tendo, which I was a part of that community for until like the staff kind of got fed up with my bullshit there at the time. Which, it was whatever at that point. But I've forgotten a lot of the other usernames I actually had from the time before Pixel Tendo, so I usually don't consider the start of my internet career until, like, Pixel Tendo happened. As far as my career as an online artist, that didn't really take off until, like, 2017, I'm gonna say. It's been a slow start, but it's been growing rather slowly, and I mean, honestly, like, I am happy to see where the road has taken me so far, and I look forward to where the road takes me soon. Assuming I don't do something stupid in the meantime. So, the next question was 9 plus 10. I joked that was the amount of souls JD Vance took over the internet with JD Vancey meme. But everyone knows the answer to that. That's just really a fun question. So the next question comes from Newgrounds user Shang Xian, who has been asking me, do I rely mostly on experimentation or tutorials when making pixel art? Which is actually a very good question, I might add. So, the short answer I gave was, it depends. Now for the elaboration on what I mean by that. So, here's the thing with me and pixel art, because I've been doing this for about 13 years now, and my practice has essentially evolved over the years. So, for the most part, yes, I do experiment, but if there is something I do not know, and this is really the important thing, then I'm more likely to look up a tutorial or see if I can ask around in specific communities on how they do certain stuff, like say color cycling. Which, to kind of better elaborate on why that matters, what I am going to do real quick here is essentially pull up a rather old piece that I have. Just give me a quick moment because it's gonna take me a hot minute to pull up the art piece in question. Maybe in my hard drive somewhere, but essentially the piece that I am talking about is the Dark Espion recreation piece that I did not too long ago. And I really wanted to experiment with color cycling. So the thing was, I had no idea how color cycling worked or how I was going to go about creating it. And that required me to ask around on Pixel Joint, a couple of other pixel art communities that were in existence at the time I was making it. And it was a bit of a hot mess. So just to kind of put that in here real quick. This is the piece I'm talking about in question, where you can see there's kind of like a ton of color cycling going on. You have multiple different layers, and it ended up becoming more of this like psychedelic trance where I tried to emulate like a trading card being like manipulated, or just being like shifted around in perspectives as if you were holding it, which it failed in that respect, but it also kind of created this weird translucent psychedelic effect in its own regard, and I was actually really happy with how this piece in particular came out. So the thing was, with how I ended up creating that piece in particular, I had to use two different pixel art programs at the time. I wasn't just using a sprite per se, but I did end up utilizing GraphX2, I believe the program is called. So yeah, Graphics 2. That was the program I used to create that piece. And I learned how to do color cycling from there, and I will say that my methods have changed slightly since that point. Which, either for better or worse, that's really kind of a case. But here's the thing that I want everyone to kind of understand. Like, ever since I've graduated art school, I have learned so many different techniques and so many different principles in my level of mastery to the point where I don't exactly rely on like tutorials all that much anymore, unless I absolutely have to. So yes, I do kind of tend to take a more experimental approach with how I create my artwork. And that's what I feel is within good reason. So, kind of like what I'm doing right now, I'm just kind of like diving in and trying to create like a landscape entirely from scratch. So, in some ways, it's going to be far more different from what I typically make. Now, let's see. Because right now, I think what I want to do is really just kind of go in here. Let's shift this more upward. Alrighty. Ah. No. Okay. Alrighty. So, I suppose that answers the question in regards to how I do my pixel art. Now for a fun question by Alistair. So, if you were an evil villain, where would your base be and what would it look like and have inside? And what would your goons wear as uniforms? As well as my ultimate plan. So, my ultimate plan as a supervillain. Well, if anything, I'd probably have to Pinky of a Brain this and just say take over the world. My intention for a one-world government is essentially creativity becomes law. You have to be creative in some way, shape, or form. So that would be the ideology I would be forcing people on. Like, forget all the capitalism, communism, and all this other bullshit. We're going by what you make is essentially what you contribute to society. That's my ultimate ideal world, and I would have to accommodate that by world domination. So, far as what I would look like as an evil villain, well, my uniform would have to be very cursed. I'd probably have to look like an eldritch abomination in some way, shape, or form. Because cursed shit is just cool. Like, you cannot tell me otherwise. Like, we have to go as cursed as possible and freak out as many people as possible. So, I'd probably look like that really sad taxidermy otter. Like, far as like having like a pelt on my head. So that's essentially one of the things I would be wearing. I'd also probably be wearing lobster armor for no reason whatsoever, with underpants over my pants, as with most superhero tropes go, except this time it's being done in the context of a supervillain. What would my goons wear? Honestly, they'd probably have to wear... I don't know. Probably very similar uniforms, where they have the lobster armor, but the pelts that they have would not be the Sad Otter. In fact, it would probably be like mice helmets of some sort, where it would just look like a giant mouse head with goggles on it. And yeah, so he would have gas mask, and I would expect him to act like the Team Fortress characters, or however they do it in Venture Bros, let's just say. If that works. So there you have it. That's essentially what I would be doing as an evil villain. Okay, so that's one of the other fun questions. Crimson Kuro asks, would you consider Lumpy Touch a big influence or a small influence, or not one at all? So, I've definitely gone over influences before, but I don't think I've really talked about online influences as much, per se, on who influences my work. So, yes, you could make an argument that Lumpy Touch is a bit of an influence on me, per se, because he does a lot of horror-based artwork, animations, and what have you, and he does it very well. There is absolutely no denying that he does it well, and I love him for it, so I do consider him an influence in that respect. However, I could also make the very same argument about Meat Canyon, who is also very good at making horror-based artwork. So if we really want to get into like all the cursed influences I have, or horror-based influences, Lumpy Touch, Meat Canyon, and honestly a lot of the earlier Chris O'Neill animation shorts before he went to being a Let's Player and part-time animator. Which, mad respect to him, by the way, for making that call. And those are as far as my online influences go. Oh yeah, and I could also throw in a little bit of Zach Hadel if we want to talk about Smiling Friends. By extension, Mike Cusack as well. Anyhow, as far as other influences I have go, I've mentioned last stream that Earthbound has been an influence. Super Mario World has also been an influence. Other influences include John R. Dilworth, who created Courage the Cowardly Dog and The Dirty Birdie. Danny Antonucci, and if you don't know him by now from Edda and Eddie, then I am really disappointed in you, personally. Who else can I add onto the list? Jonan Vasquez is also an influence in that respect. So, yes. I would say those guys tend to be more or less my influences, and I'm probably gonna repeat that later on. So, yeah, I did think that being like an evil villain would be a good drawing prompt, but honestly, I'm kind of like more of a mood to do whatever I feel like doing. Next question. What is my honest opinion on TikTok and Instagram? Well, first off, I'm just gonna say it from the get-go. TikTok is garbage. I fucking hate it. I do not use it. I tried it at one point and I honestly thought it was the worst fucking thing ever. So that's my blunt, honest opinion about TikTok. Now, Instagram. So I have a very complicated relationship with Instagram. If I'm being very, very truthful about this, I don't like Instagram either, as well as several other meta platforms. The problem is that if I get rid of my Instagram, I will lose a lot of connections I have with several different artists I have networked with over the years. And it's going to be more of a pain in the ass for me to ditch that entirely when I have over 500 followers on Instagram. And I've managed to build like a small following on it, in addition to the real-life contacts I have. So that's kind of my dilemma with the whole thing with Instagram per se. I don't like it, but that doesn't mean I don't necessarily use it. And for those who want to make the argument, well, if you hate Instagram but use it, then why aren't you using TikTok even though you do not like TikTok? Like, look, I don't like the whole anti-aesthetic thing that TikTok has going for it. I just don't. I personally think it's more annoying. I think the algorithms, like, are just gonna show me things that I really don't want. And it's more of a pain in the ass to have to deal with trying to make sure that my algorithms from TikTok stay separate from my Instagram, which, yeah, I know privacy settings and whatnot, but it's also just one of those things where it's just more of a headache to deal with than it's worth. And that's without going into how I feel about the political landscape, because I do not want to get into politics on my art stream, thank you very much. So, alrighty. I think it's time for another player. So, you know, this is going to be interesting for me in some regards, because some of these, like, trees actually get very pale. You know, this is what I should have done earlier, now that I think about it. Okay, so what I am going to do now, that the majority of these have been selected, copy, delete, create a new layer, command paste. There we go. So yeah, it does kind of look like ass right now, but there is a reason why I do these things. So happy little trees. Anyhow, aside from the social media question, which I think I've answered to the best of my ability, one of the other things that was asked. So, Pizza Pasta asks, I don't think I've ever asked this, but what's your best advice to artists? Not advice for learning art, but advice to the artists themselves. Well, okay, so my boy, Pizza Pasta, the first thing I'm going to tell you, do not compare yourself to other artists. Just don't. So, the thing is, I feel like a lot of artists, like, tend to forget is that you're really just kind of like growing on your own terms with art. So, what I mean by that is that it's not necessarily about, what do we say? It's not about, like, comparing yourself to everyone else and all this other bullshit. No. If anything, you need to keep in mind that if you're enjoying what you do to draw for art, then you're enjoying it. And there is absolutely no shame in that. It would be nice if we saw more artists, like, just stop giving a total fuck of what people actually think to certain respects. If they know what the hell they want out of being an artist, and they're just fucking honest about it. And that's the thing, because you got a lot of people like who say they want to be artists, but say they want to do like things where they want to do like all these awesome things and whatnot, but when push comes to shove, like they actually give more of a fuck. And when it comes to like the feedback and stuff, they just kind of have a fucking breakdown. We need less of that. And I know that kind of sounds contradictory where, you know, like we don't give a fuck about like what other people think in terms of like rejecting feedback. No, like the thing is, when I say not give a fuck, like you just draw what you draw, you enjoy what you do, and you don't let people judge you for making weird things. And yes, there's criticism and stuff like that, but I think as you develop as an artist per se, then at the end of the day, what's gonna matter more? Like all of these other opinions of people like who think your art is weird? Or the fact that you have people like who support you in your creative endeavors? Which I think the people are who are more supportive in your creative endeavors should matter far more than someone who just wants to judge you for making like weird drawings and not doing quote unquote adult things. Don't compare yourself to other artists. Don't compare yourself to like some rando who just wants to put you down or anything else. You just do you. Having a specific kind of mentality is really what matters when you make art. Like, and yes, like for those who genuinely care about wanting to see your creative endeavors improve, they're gonna give you feedback and whatnot, and sometimes you just gotta take the feedback and listen to what they have to say. But if they're not gonna give you constructive feedback, and if they're just gonna be assholes, well, what good are they to you? You know? It's just more importantly to like the people like who don't care like about your work or care about you, like why feed into them? So I hope that answers that question. So the last question I have is a thread. So, do you eat beans? Would you like to see a new movie starring George Wendt? Do you eat beans of George Wendt? Would you like to see George Wendt eating beans in a movie? This was asked by Jesus Christ, which I think is a very funny username. So, first off, I don't necessarily eat beans unless we're talking about jelly beans. Those are the kind of beans I have given my sweet tooth. A reason why I wouldn't eat beans off a regular, unless we're on a beef burrito. That's one time I'll actually eat beans. And alright, you just interrupted me from my flow with your spam bot friend. And I am not tolerating it. Average bot message. And be gone with you. Okay. Anyhow. Moving on, so would I like to see a new movie starring George Wendt? I don't even know who George Wendt is. Actually. Who is George Wendt? An actor from Cheers of 1982, 1993. Okay, so that's why I don't know who this guy is. Died in May 20th. So I can't even act with this guy. He's dead. But hypothetically, in an alternate universe, assuming that he's alive, honestly, he seems like a chill dude. Would I eat beans with George Wendt? I mean, I'd probably have a burrito with George Wendt. Would I like to see George Wendt eating beans in a movie? I mean, I'd probably hear about it, but I wouldn't necessarily be interested in it, if that's what you're asking, Jesus Christ. So far, those are all the questions I have from the supporter thread. So to say, far as other happenings that have been going on, so recently I actually ended up getting a Paramount Plus subscription and a Crunchyroll subscription to go along with my current streaming. So what have I been watching as of late? Well, in that regard, I have been watching the new season of South Park. That's something that I have wanted to do since I heard about Trump getting directly parodied after supposedly Matt and Trey were not going to do that, but they walked back on that decision. Which I say good for them, because the episode was fucking spectacular. The first good episode I've seen from South Park in a very long time, in my honest opinion. But I've also ended up getting myself to catch up with Dexter by watching Original Sin, which I actually thought was great, by the way, since I didn't originally watch it when it came out. It had a very good backstory for Dexter and Brian Moser, in my honest opinion. Given that we're talking about a prequel to the original series, that Dexter's just kind of narrating while he's in a coma. So I thought that was good. As for everything else, with Resurrection. So I only just started Resurrection. So I honestly thought that, in my humble opinion, I didn't really know what to think of Resurrection. I'm not really sure how I felt about it being in New York City. I feel like I'm gonna have to watch more of Dexter Resurrection before I get like a more formal opinion on that. So I'm probably going to be talking about that more later on. As for why I got Crunchyroll, so the thing is, like, I've kind of gotten myself hooked on One Piece as of late. After kind of going on hiatus for a little while. I want to actually catch up with that entire series up to its current point. So that is in part why I've essentially chose to get a Crunchyroll subscription and just kind of go from there. So where am I at with One Piece right now? So I am currently on the Dressrosa arc. I found myself laughing a ton due to Pika's voice. For a very buff, muscular man, you do not expect him to have such a high-pitched voice. And the fact that it becomes like a try not to laugh kind of thing of the show itself is just fucking hilarious. Law's whole backstory is tragic as hell in my honest opinion. Okay, oh. Peaches in 16-bit. Okay. That's what that was. Anyhow. So, there's that tidbit of info where I've been just kind of enjoying One Piece. Favorite arc in One Piece from what I have seen so far. So, I'm going to rank my favorite One Piece arc. So, I'm gonna be honest and place Marineford as the current best arc. That turned out to be my favorite one, but if I'm gonna have to go with like a second favorite, it's gonna be a tie between the Fishman Island and the Arlong sagas. And that's primarily because those like are the sagas that established some really strong world building, in my honest opinion. So there's that aspect to it. Okay. So and for my third favorite, I'm gonna be totally honest and just go with the Ines Lobby arc. So yeah, those are my favorite like One Piece arcs per se. If I have to give a honorable mention to any of these arcs in particular, then I am gonna have to go with yeah, an honorable mention. If I'm gonna be honest, I'm going to say the Black Cat arc is an honorable mention. And I'm also going to throw Skypiea in there as an honorable mention as well because of all the lore building it has. So, there's that. In any case, those are just kind of random questions I'm kind of coming up with myself. Just to kind of like help establish the mood of the stream tonight. I just want to make sure if I keep myself talking while I draw and not get too hyper-focused. So, what is the song I am currently listening to? Essentially, it's called Plastic Love, Vaporwave Remix, Super Mario World Sound Font. Which I actually think is a interesting thing for music I usually listen to when it comes to video game remixes and whatnot. I actually kind of like Vaporwave. It's a very soothing genre of music, and yes, it has its own niches and whatnot, but you know what? It is what it is. Okay. Alrighty, so are there any other TV shows I like aside from One Piece, Dexter, and whatnot? So, that depends. Are we talking about some of the older TV shows I grew up with, my influences I was talking about earlier? Or are we just shooting for shit at this point? So, I guess you could probably say that other shows that I enjoy are Californication. I essentially try to get into shows like Ted, which if you enjoyed the movie, I think you'll find yourself liking that show per se. If you haven't watched it, you're probably going to be like, oh, this is just another one of Seth MacFarlane's projects. Other TV shows. Probably not a whole lot. A part of me did want to watch season 2 of Wednesday, but right now I just don't have any interest in renewing my Netflix subscription right now. I just don't have like a good incentive to really bother doing that, to be honest. So yeah, Netflix is just kind of out of the question at the moment. So other TV shows that I enjoy. Well, I guess if we want to like go back to old school, I guess Malcolm in the Middle is another TV show that I enjoyed and actually kind of miss alongside with Scrubs. So that should be very telling about like some of the sense of humor that I do have. Okay, so other things of interest. You know, that's a good question I haven't really thought of. I mean, personally, I can't wait for hockey season to come back. I don't know how the Bruins are going to be doing, but you know what? It would be very nice if, like, they actually did okay in the seasons and made it to playoffs. Not like last year. So that's one thing. Okay. Well, I just realized I goofed. You know what? I'm just gonna build off a mistake there. Alrighty. What else can I do? What is my favorite season? Actually, it's gonna be fall. If there's a reason why I'm drawing this winter-esque scene right now, it's because 1, I wish it was a lot cooler. 2, this is actually a very picturesque scene. And yes, I did take this photo by myself, so that is kind of a thing. Let's see here. Alright, so I think we're gonna start doing some of the branches here. And this is kind of like a thing I want to try. Because I think I can kind of make my own brushes in a spray if I'm not mistaken. So this is a thing that I'm gonna try here. Just for the heck of it. So just kind of come up with a few little dots here. Okay. Also, hello, random viewer. Welcome to the stream. I hope that you're enjoying what you're seeing so far, and if not, then it's whatever. Okay, so just gonna look something up just so I know what I'm doing here. Make a selection of into brush a sprite. Just kind of make things a little bit okay. That makes a lot more sense for Control V. Which actually, this works out relatively well. So what I'm going to do is do a custom select. Undo that. Now do Control B. Okay, so alrighty. That kind of gives me a good idea of what I want to do next. Pattern align to source. I just want to see something. Oh, here we go. And okay. What about Masher's stuff? This is actually a fairly good song in my opinion, or a good track. Okay. So just kind of do a thing here. Okay. Okay. Alrighty, I actually kind of like what I did here. Okay. Just kind of keep on streaming as it is. I'm gonna hyper focus a little bit and give my voice a break. May kind of mention a few things here and there about my process. Okay. Alrighty, so it's going. Alrighty. Making some headway here. Okay. Okay, so that actually kind of looks nice right there. I've pretty sure I have pictures up. Okay. Get a closer look at my reference. It got a little thirsty there. Okay. Alrighty, this is going somewhere at the very least, it looks like. Okay. Alrighty. So far so good, and... Thinking I might have to come up with other ways to promote my Twitch. It's early on, so I'm not really stressing too much about every little thing. So to say. Anyhow. I'm just kind of enjoying the mood right now. No, didn't want that. Okay. Oh yeah. This is my jam right here. Alrighty. Okay, that's interesting. I'll have to look into my YouTube playlist later and fix that. On my way. Okay. See if we could get this on repeat. Alrighty. I think I'm gonna go for a couple more minutes and then I'm gonna save my work. This may end up being a part 2 for later on. But I am going to at the very least repost the stream as far as the commentary is concerned. Okay. Well, I think for now, I'm going to save a project as and continue this another time. I realized it was kind of a short stream, but to be honest, I didn't really have a lot to begin with to go off of as much as I would have wanted, but hey. It's one of those things, but I am going to continue this another time, so... In any case, have a good evening, everyone.